Welcome. Welcome to the Secret Weapon tutorial. There are so many tricks I'm going to share with you just over the next few minutes. The versatility of the gimmicks is crazy. The fact, and my favorite thing, of course, about this is the fact that most magicians already carry an official Sharpie marker. We use it for so many things. Since we're carrying it, why not do some magic with it, right? So you're going to learn, I'm going to show you how to make this thing melt, how to make it stretch, how to make it change color, how to vanish the marker, on and on. I'm even going to show you how you can make a signed, how you can create the illusion, and it's a visually perfect illusion, of making a signed dollar bill vanish and then reappear from inside the cap. Okay, a whole bunch of cool stuff going on. So let's dive right in. If you've opened up the bag of gimmicks, I bet you're already pretty curious about everything that's going on in there. So let's take a look at this. We've included in this pack enough supplies so you can make several of the gimmicks, all right? And here is how you do. You grab a pair of scissors, okay? And from the tube, you're going to cut, basically, okay? And it doesn't have to be too exact, but you're going to cut a length of tube that is almost exactly the same, hold it up against the back wall here, almost exactly the same length, okay, as a cap. So this is the cap. You're going to see in this, these two are so confusing sometimes. They look so similar. There might be some confusion during the tutorial. But you've got your cap and you've cut a tube. Now, the tube you're going to cut with a pair of scissors straight down the middle of the tube, opening it up so you can open up the tube, okay? So now I'm opening up the tube. So I've got a length basically of plastic that looks identical to the cap, that is the same height or length as the cap, okay? But I've cut it down the middle so I can open it up. Then I have taken off, I don't know what it is, 45-degree angle, off all four corners of this piece of material. I've shaved, that's a great shot there. You can see I have shaved, okay, there, like that. Just the corner, just the edge, the corner. All four corners, if you could say dull them or put a bit of a slope on all four corners, and this thing rolls up nicely. So that is your gimmick. Now, when you take a marker out of your pocket and you're saying, hey, it's a magic marker, I'm going to have you sign your name on it, whatever, nobody is looking at the marker suspiciously. No one is looking at the cap suspiciously. So when you have this gimmick, and you'll find the nice slit here allows that you can take with the clip. The clip's on top right now, okay? Clip is on top. Gimmick can now neatly slide right on. Okay, boom. So there it is, okay? Nobody's looking for anything. I mean, you can take it out like this, handle it. You can cover the little edge if you want, though the edges match up perfectly, okay? Remember a thumb tip. I want you to consider a thumb tip, because if you're a newer magician, you might think, aren't people going to notice this? No one's noticing anything. And if you've ever used a thumb tip, you know a thumb tip doesn't look, I mean, if you hold up your thumb, they're going to see, hey, your thumb is shiny. It's a slightly different color than the palm, the rest of the hand, and yet you can get away with miracles with a thumb tip, right? So keep that in mind and don't get paranoid about this gimmick, okay? Particularly because there's an old art form in magic or a technique called black art. And it's based on the idea that when something is the color black, when it's a dead black, you hold it against another thing that's dead black, and any lines or seams vanish, even from very close. So this is the great thing about this. It is dead black. So this is where your gimmick. Now, when you have this, notice it slides smoothly onto the shaft, or there's an illusion right there. It slides smoothly from the cap right onto the shaft of the marker, okay? So you can carry this in your pocket, ready to use at any time or not use. That's what I love about this. This can be resting on the cap, okay? Or it can be resting down the shaft, just in the middle of the shaft here like this, okay? So that's someplace that you can carry too, okay? Now, though you wouldn't hand it to the spectator, you wouldn't take off the cap and give this to a spectator to sign something, notice that you can still use this even though it's on the shaft. You can still use it as well. Okay, but my experience, I absolutely always keep it right here. So that's your gimmick. That's where it's going to start much of the time. Tip here, if you want, because you could say, it doesn't look, you know how this is a little shiny and this is a little dead black, okay? If you want, you could get some nail polish, some clear nail polish from a drugstore or something, and you could paint it, apply the lacquer on there, or even get some clear plastic packing tape, okay? carefully. You could wrap the tube with it, make sure there's no big wrinkles and stuff, then cut it down to size, and there'd have that little bit more of a shine on it, okay? But I've never done it. I've never been caught. And please, while I go through this tutorial, remember, I've got big floodlights on me, big camera lights, okay? So there's going to be a shine in a way that there's never is in the real world, okay? Very few rooms you'll ever work, certainly not restaurants and cafeterias and work lunchrooms. None of them are going to be as brightly lit as right now. Keep that all in mind as we go through this tutorial. Okay, so here we are. So one of my favorite tricks to do with this is very simple, okay? It starts as just a simple, I guess it's a shrinking. You could call it a shrinking marker effect, okay? Where you're here, okay? And what you do is just by tapping, you create the illusion that you have, that the marker has shrunk, okay? And then a moment later, it's back down to normal size. You can hand that out. See how smoothly that flows? And sometimes I won't always use the line, hey, do you ever wonder why they call a magic marker a magic marker? But it's a classic line. I've got the gimmick on there. I don't have to do anything, okay? I'm here. I hold the gimmick here. I want to make sure again, so it's not against the black. Here we go. And look at this illusion. Get it nice and close here for you. Looks exactly like you're reducing it down to those mini Sharpie markers, okay? And in fact, what I've sometimes done is I've had a Sharpie marker, one of the minis, they have them on the market now, have someone use it to sign something, take it back, later in my show when I reach into my case in my back pocket, I take out this with the gimmick, okay? And I start to hand it to somebody else's right and say, actually, these are not the most comfortable things, right? So let me see, and they see me slowly make this longer and longer, and as if it comes right out of the cap, and then I can hand that to them. So there's a whole bunch of, basically this is a shell, right? It's a shell. So anyway, this first trick though, you're here, and you're gonna tap, and as you hit, of course, all it's doing, I want to show you the back view here, is it is going out the other end, right? Behind your hand. So you're here, you've got the clip at the back, right? You go tap, 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 and you can lean right in. I've done this 3 inches from someone's face, okay? Totally convincing. Now, I grab the end, I come over here. You don't want to flash this, right? I come over here, and I want to make it look like I just pull the cap back on the end and then hand out everything. Boom, hand it right for them to use. Sometimes I'll do it as a pretty powerful trick right in front of them. Other times I do it casually. You ever wonder why they call a magic marker, tap, tap, tap? Yeah, I don't know either. Boom, and you hand this out. So this is one of the things that excited me about this is when it's at this point, okay? When I slide this back, I can slide it right over the cap and right past the cap. It slides smoothly and it ends up finger palmed in my right hand, okay? While I then wiggle the end. That's what gives it that flow, okay? So I'm here from the front, okay? I want to make sure, again, you can see it. We go tap, 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 pull it right back. Again, you want to make sure you don't flash that. When you reach over, pull it right back to the very end, wiggle it, and hand it to them. And this wiggle sort of shares whatever minor tension there might have been in that moment. The wiggle shares it, and then, of course, you can either hand it. No one's looking for anything in your hand, okay? You just did something. They want to check out the marker. There's something up with the marker. So you hand that to them, and people invariably are checking out the marker. Somebody grabs, they want to look at it. Is it a real marker? Is it solid? And the gimmick's in your right hand. Or you can pass it with your right hand, okay? The gimmick's in your left finger palm, sorry. Or you can pass it. And notice how easy it is. After they've used the marker, if you take this at any time, you'll feel this. Try this even just once. Push the cap at the front of the gimmick, okay? Just push at the front of the gimmick, and no matter which way you'll push it in, okay? And no matter which way the slit is lying, it's always that slit's going to open up and allow the cap to go right back on, and you're going to be back to this invisible situation. So that's one simple trick you can do with it, sort of a shrinking, okay? Now, let me share this. This is another way to go with it. This is more of a penetration. It looks like the marker is penetrating the cap. Because you're gonna at the middle of the illusion, you're gonna have this image, which looks exactly like the marker just is being pushed through the cap, and then a moment later you restore everything. So for this, okay, again, it can start here on the cap. I know it's hard to see. You can start because again the gimmick blends in perfectly. You can start with it there, or for this, you can also start with it down here. Okay, now the advantage of down here is this. If it starts down here in the end, okay, it means you can take it out of your pocket. You ever wonder why a magic marker is a magic marker, whatever? And you ever wonder what, say, I don't know why they're, I don't, but let's try this. Watch carefully here. And you do this, okay? Now, what I did was a switch. I switched this end. I want to make sure they can see this. I take the cap off. Do you ever wonder why? Put the cap back on. No sleight of hand, okay? Then I'm gesturing here. I put my hands down, and I want them to get the impression that I transferred from this hand to this hand, okay? But what I actually did down here is I went down, came back up, and I've reversed the two ends, right? You want to make sure, of course, that it's all the way down over. There we go. So it's here, down here, and here. There's nothing to see, okay? On the offbeat, there's nothing to see. But now you're all set up. Now all you have to do is come over. You kind of bring it up. All focus is here. And I'll often hold it with 2 fingers at the very end or 1 finger. And you get this beautiful twisting. Really milk it so they can see impossibly the marker is going through the cap. I mean, that's very clear. People can see that from 10 or 15 feet. The penetration is perfect. They can see clearly. You just put one through the other, right? Now, to finish, I come over here, grab this end, and do the exact same thing where I slide this. And again, you got to be careful you don't flash that end, okay? Which is why when you want to have this not all the way down here when it's finished, but more in the middle, okay? That way, I can come over, grab the ends, pull it right over, right? Have that wheel we talked about before, and hand this out. And again, it can be examined. And people will want to look at this because they just saw you push the marker all the way through and back the cap. Okay, a cool visual illusion. So first thing we did was sort of a shrinking. The next thing we did was this penetration. Now, I was so thrilled when I came up with this idea, I gotta say, because with this, what of course you can do, and it looks so cool, is you can show the marker, show the cap, and then have the cap of the marker change color. And again, it can be examined. So this shell gimmick starts sitting on top of this. Okay, now this is you really want to, I should have cut this gimmick just a little bit longer here, because look, looks good, but see the little tip. You don't want that, okay? Not during a performance. You don't want someone on the far left, okay? So a little bit longer, all right? So again, and ideally the thing to do is have them use the black marker once, okay? Then you can do the color change. And the color change action is nice, okay? Because you're here, okay, you've got the shell on the red, okay? I pivot it down and then make a fist around the shell. Hit up, no sleight of hand on that one. Here, and I pull it up and take it at the fingertips again. So again, all focus is here. That's where people are going to want to look at the cap and see what is up with that cap. Now, a cool idea with this is if you happen to make a large ace of spades image with a little tail there, right? And then here, I've got the same. I actually traced one over the other, but I colored this with red and left that. Because notice that it looks like a heart. Spade looks like a heart. So what I can do here is have this prediction. Let's say I'm going to do this. And any way you want to switch these things, right? So you force an ace of hearts. Okay, or you sort of start by saying, I've got my prediction. You've got the ace of spades here, okay? Like this, like this. This is the ace of spades. That's my prediction. Force the ace of hearts, right? And then you say, I actually made a sketch of that. And look at this, everybody here, you can see here like this. And they say, wrong. You go, what do you mean? They say, it wasn't a spade, it was the ace of hearts. Okay. Now, as you've been opening this, you already have this finger palm. So you open this, and you go, close this up. Just do a simple finger palm, right? From here to here, some kind of switch. Put that down the table. Say, wait a second, I think I have a solution. Go to your pockets. In the pockets, that's when I grab the black marker. Say, actually, this is the marker I used to do it. Let's see if I can. So now that it's red there, it's red. Pick this up, give it a tap, magically. You've changed this to the appropriate color. You give a tap, you go to your pocket with this, and you get rid of the black shell and the red marker. They all go into your pocket, so that's out of play now. And having used it as a magic wand, now someone can open this up, and you can see that beautifully you've changed the spade into the ace of hearts. Okay, so that's a real nice full-on routine using the color change. You can do just the color changing cap for sure. It's a great opening effect for starters. And it's really very cool to walk up to a table and just change the color of a marker cap and everything can be examined. Or you can use it in this routine. Okay, so that's the color change. Now, stretching the cap. This is crazy. This is a real bizarre. I've done this a bunch of times, and every time I head into this, I never know how people are going to respond. Okay, and what I like to do is I got my setup here. I'm going to warm up the cap, I say, a little plastic. Just warm that up there like that. Now, you grab the top of the gimmick, okay, and now you kind of do this. You stretch it down. I want to use seats against the black. It's a bizarre illusion. Down, or against the white wall. You can make the cap look like you've just stretched it 3 inches, okay? Very bizarre, just a very quick. I know this isn't going to appeal to everybody, but some of you I know are more like to do kind of strange left of center stuff. So this is a great use of a bit of heat. You can stretch it, and then it can, like we said, cool it off like this, and once again, it's down at the same size, its original size. So you can use this to stretch the cap, which I think is really kind of a weird gimmick. You can also do it, of course, take the cap off, and with the cap off, visibly sort of work it between your hands here, and as well stretch that thing down until it's about here. But then there's going to be more heat on just this, and the steel isn't as easy. Then you can come up here. You could finger palm it like this and shrink it down to its ordinary size. I think it's a beautiful image, but I think you're going to find out there's a little bit more heat on your hands. The marker is really the best place to load on and load off. All right, did the stretch. Now, let's look at this. I told you at the beginning how you can make a signed bill vanish and reappear inside a just examined marker cap. I was playing years ago with a cigarette vanish. I teach it to you right now. When you roll a borrowed and signed bill, you roll it up like this, okay? You roll it right up into a little tube, okay? I can take that now, show my hand's empty, and tap it down into my hand, and then make it vanish. It is a beautiful vanish, okay? Pivot vanish, used to be called a steel vanish, cigarette vanish. And the technique I'm using is this. I'm tapping, and then kind of on my third tap, I push forward. When you push forward, it pivots. It pivots against the tip of the fingers and goes right up, boom, into finger palm. Try it a few times, okay? You'll find that you can make it look really, really nice, okay? It's boom, it's great. There's no fidgeting. The right fingers and thumb don't even move as they receive it. You just literally have to adjust the arc of the finger slightly, and it sticks right in there. So I was playing with this, and I said, wait a second. I can use this to make a signed bill vanish and appear in a just examined marker with this gimmick. Here's how you do it. You have someone sign the bill, right? You then roll it up as tightly as you can, like this. You don't even introduce the marker yet, okay? And well, you could do a few things. You can have a spectator roll this very tightly, but I think the best sort of pocket management is to start with the gimmick in the right-hand finger palm, okay? Can be pointing any which way, whatever. It doesn't matter where the slit is, of course. That wouldn't be practical, right? And this is extremely practical, all this work here for sure on Secret Weapon. So this is right-hand finger palm. Roll up the bill. You roll. Then take the marker out and say, this might look like an ordinary magic marker, but have you ever wondered why they call it a magic marker? Hand that to someone, say, take off the cap, make sure it looks, smell it, make sure it looks, smells, and feels like an ordinary marker. While they're doing that, all I do is transfer this from my right hand to my left hand. And when I put it in my right hand, I'm done. Trick's done. I just inserted this into the gimmick. Okay, a little bit of practice. You'll see it's very easy to do. Okay, I inserted it into the gimmick. Now, having inserted it into the gimmick, they're looking at that. They're examining this. I then take this and put it in my other hand. Okay, and I pull this out a little bit, and I'm right where I want to be. I'm in the perfect position. Notice too that I'm adjusting it just a little bit while people are looking at that. I'm loosening it a little bit because I want it to open up the gimmick a little. You don't want the gimmick. If the gimmick is super closed and this is super closed, the diameters of these two, you can't really tell, but the diameters of these two, you can see this is a tiny, no one ever notices, but it's a tiny bit thinner than the diameter of the cap, okay? So while they're doing that, so remember, I've loaded it in, I've transferred it over. You could start with the gimmick in the left-hand finger palm, right? Depending on if you roll it up And then just by taking it and putting it, sort of taking it in this hand, it's loaded in as well, all right? But here's where I am. Now notice, I talked about that tap vanish. I'm all set for the tap vanish because I just have to go tap, and I'm tapping it into the gimmick in full view. I said was hold on to the marker, or hold on to the cap, I should say, with your close, just make sure there's no way I can get inside there anywhere near that cap. They're holding it on. You could even have this inside a paper napkin. They're holding the paper napkin for more drama. This is their sign build. They see you tap it down into the hand, then they see a moment later, it is gone. This falls to your side, it's gone. Beautiful vanish, okay? They take the napkin off, or they're holding the marker like this. Now, this is my situation. All I'm going to do is come over and pretend to take the cap off the marker. I'm going to come over and pull. So clean, so magical. And all I did there was I took the cap deep. Rather than coming here, is I take the cap a little bit deeper into the palm, okay? So it's, I don't know, an inch deeper in the hand, okay? This is in finger palm. Take this about half an inch deeper and pull everything out. What that does, I want you to really see this because this is so easy. This is not hard sleight of hand. Leaves the marker in the palm, this sticking out of the palm. Now do not worry if when you pull it out, it's already showing a little bit. That's fine, okay? If it's not, that's okay too, because you can put this down, and as you come over and pretend to pull it out, what you actually do with the fingers, bases of the fingers, is watch. Is I just scooch it down a little bit. I pull this against the base, and they see, and this is the image you want to sell, okay? And as I do this with my right thumb, I often open the gimmick a little bit, so now it's really starting to look, let me compare for you here. It's the exact same diameter as the marker cap. And you get this, they just examined this. They looked inside. You just pulled off the cap, and they can see impossibly, and there's no switches required, okay? You do this, there's no heat on this, okay? You do this, this is here. There's no heat on this. I take this and I just put it right in my pocket. Boom, into my pocket goes the cap for the time being. I'm going to take the cap out in a moment, put it back on there. But take this out, get rid of the gimmick, and slowly show everybody it is the exact same bill. So it is a no difficult sleight of hand, no thumb tips, no nothing. They saw it. You didn't imply it was. They saw it come out from inside that. So that is the sign build, the cap. Super cool. Now, let's jump into these. Okay. Boy, these look so good. These look so good. I worked hard to make sure So on the PDF that comes with this, you don't just get the handful, the few pieces nicely printed on a cardstock, because after a bunch of performances, you'd be all done, right? So you get a PDF with this, so you can print out as many of these cool gimmicks as you want. Just make sure they're printed when you print them. You want them printed off, and you can find lots of online printing places that'll print the PDF of the markers for next to nothing, okay? You want to print it on a cardstock, okay? And you want to print it on a glossy cardstock, because that's what gives them the shine, makes them look really good. Now, bunch of things you can do with these cool games. One simple thing, of course, is at some point during your show, after somebody has used a magic marker, okay, you can reach in your pocket, apparently take out the magic marker, and make it vanish under test conditions, okay? Now, this is the grip. Look at that, okay? This is the grip. It's a totally natural way to hold a marker. If someone will pass you a marker, I got the marker here, here's the marker. This is, okay? And notice that when I'm holding one of these cardboard cutouts, okay, and this here, look how similar they look, okay? They look great. They really look good. So, someone just used the marker, you put it in your pocket. A moment later, you say, you can take it out, okay? A moment later, you can take it out, show it, put it inside this, okay? Really emphasize it's inside. And then a moment later, you can make that thing clearly vanish into nothing. Gone, okay? So that's one simple thing. The next thing you can do, which I really like, is, and you're going to like this, is to really add to the illusion, is take this and cut off, not quite the marker, add a little bit of the marker to it, maybe about like this, okay? Now, so this is what I've done. Now, I'm going to roll this, okay? I'm going to give it a little bit. I'm going to put it against the table here, and I'm bending. I want you to see this real clearly. What I'm doing here is I'm bending it a little bit, not folding, just giving it a little bit of a rounded bend like this. And this was a tip that my brilliant friend Mike Scott gave me this tip, so it's slightly bowed. And that really adds to the look of it being a barrel, okay, around it. And if you take this, and again, this was a Mike Scott idea, and you take this and you feed this in here, now it's crazy good, okay? Because now what you have, it's rolled, it's in the cap, the shine, the whole thing really sells the idea that that is clearly the marker. Such a great illusion. So with this, you can take, let's do it with the dollar bill. Okay. Again, you can have this in your case, okay, your shirt pocket. Not great in a jacket pocket, it gets bent, but I've kept them in my shirt pocket. They do just fine. And you can take this, boom, okay. Take this, show this, and put it in a dollar bill, okay. Get a nice bend on it like this. Take the cap off. Show the cap. Put it in your pocket, put it in your case, clearly leaving the shaft of the marker. Then take this, boom, bend it in half, fold it up. The one thing you got to do when you crunch this up is you want to make sure, a little bit of practice, you don't want the cardboard gimmick sticking out of it. So again, under crazy, sleeves up, super magical vanish of a Sharpie marker, okay? There's so many things I like about that. Finally, you can take this, and again, it's a Mike Scott idea. I love this idea. What he did is, we've got this. We're going to make one of these gimmicks again. We've got this. Going to cut this where we did before like this, okay? There we are like that, okay? Now we're going to give this that little bow, that little bend like this, okay? Now we're going to have a second Sharpie marker here. Okay? Have this second Sharpie marker, okay, down inside your pocket. It's inside the pocket, okay? Now what I can do, I can have this loaded in here like this, okay? Like this. Actually, let's have this over here in my left pants pocket, because I am right-handed. So now, what I can do, okay, is I can have we'll do this, okay? So it's down in here with the cap uppermost. You can show your cardboard cutout with the cap on it. So deceptive, so great. Put it in here, okay? Take the cap off like this. Show the cap clearly. So I'm going to take the cap, and rather than putting it down the pocket, I'm just going to clip it here. So you can keep an eye on the cap. And I bet you know what I just did, but you're so far ahead now. They just saw you take the cap off. They see you clip it on here. Then you ball this up, and impossibly, boom, marker is clearly gone. Come over here. Pull the cap slow. Marker is back on, ready to be used again. Because all I did, of course, was switch caps, right? I had this off, showed this, and said, tell you what, rather than putting this down in the pocket, I'm just going to clip. Now, you wouldn't even have to verbalize it if you don't want to draw attention to it. You can say, now I want you to keep an eye, and since the marker's upright in your pocket, the cap's right there. Oh, that's still on them. So you do this, and say, I want you to keep an eye on it. You just, in the action of turning and clipping, you've switched. I left the cap I had here, and again, just another very cool and powerful, organic, down-to-earth. I just love being able to do as much magic as possible with every prop I have on me, and of course, you've got these all the time. That is it. Don't forget the flip stick. Don't forget about Flip Helma's wonderful vanish of a marker, right? Boom, gone, okay? And for that, what you're doing is you're holding it here. And the key is I'm going to be holding it kind of loosely with the left fingers, okay? But pushing. I am pushing really firmly so it levers. You want it to snap. Look how quickly. I want you to see this, okay? Like this. Boom. So I am pushing with the tip of the right finger. The left two fingers and thumbs are just holding this in place. But as soon as I push hard enough, it snaps back against my hand. Okay? Here, boom. So that's where you want it. Lined up so it's right. You definitely don't want it down here, or it'll flash, or up here. So the practice is to make sure that when you're applying the pressure again, it's going to snap. I go from this view to that. This view, So you go from sort of an open butterfly almost. Hey, the hands are there, down to here. It looks great on the table. Boom. Looks really good. Where I first saw it is on someone's knee. I mean, the misdirection here is great. Here and there like that. Then it's here. You go up and reproduce it from under your arm. Okay? Here, like that, like that. So all together, boom, boom. Love it. All together, I think you will agree. Between enough of the tube for you to make several gimmicks, a nice quality Sharpie marker included with this, the PDF, the vanishes with the cardboard gimmick, the crazy Pentro stuff that you can do at the beginning, and a signed bill that vanishes and appears. And again, all this with pretty basic sleight of hand. I hope you'll agree that Secret Weapon is an especially cool magic project. Thank you so much for your time. Stay safe. Take care of your family. Really appreciate your support. Have a great day.